Welcome to the Paul Adefarasin podcast, our interactive 15-minute review of this week's message. We revisit the word, surface the big ideas, and give you space to reflect, pray, and act. If you'd like the full message, though, you can watch it on YouTube or listen on Spotify after this episode. My name is Paul Adefarasin.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know, some seasons in life, they don't just happen to you, right? Sometimes they feel like they happen for you. They could bruise you, yeah, but also bless you, sometimes all at once. And they often leave you standing at a crossroads.
Yeah, exactly, those moments.
It's right there, you know, when maybe hope starts to breathe a little life back into those tired places, that this really big question comes up.
Yeah.
What is your next move?
And that question, well, it's absolutely central to what we're diving into today.
It really is.
We've gone deep into some powerful sources. The main one is this really vibrant Sunday service from House on the Rock. It's got everything, a compelling sermon, these amazing real-world testimonies, church news.
A whole tapestry, really.
It is. And we're here to unpack how faith, and taking deliberate action really weave together at those critical points in life.
So our mission today is basically to pull out those vital, actionable insights. How do you navigate those crucial moments? How do you understand the power that comes with obedience?
And seizing opportunities. Exactly. Seizing opportunities. All geared towards helping you get this knowledge quickly, thoroughly, and apply it to your own life. So let's unpack this. Let's get right to it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're kicking off with this really remarkable case study. It's transformational, and it's kind of a cornerstone in our source material.
Yeah.
It comes from Acts chapter 3 in the Bible.
Right.
So picture this. There's a man described as lame from his mother's womb. Now, for over 40 years. I mean, just think about that. 4 decades.
40 years is a long time.
It's incredible. He was laid daily at this place, the beautiful gate, just expecting, money, alms. His whole life, his entire identity was shaped by this physical condition.
And it wasn't just the physical limitation, was it? The source material really stresses this.
No, that's key.
It affected his whole trajectory, creating this deeply ingrained coping mechanism. His world revolves around this perceived limitation.
Yeah, the source material really digs into that, how the physical thing wasn't just, a body issue.
It hit his mental state, his emotions, what he thought was possible for his future. He wasn't just unable to walk. He'd built this psychological fortress, you could say.
A fortress of learned helplessness, yeah. And subsistence. For 40 years, his next move was always identical. Just wait for a handout.
And then, bam, something completely unexpected happens. Peter and John walk by.
Right.
And this isn't just a casual hello. Peter looks right at the man, commands it pretty forcefully, look on us.
Which must have been startling.
Totally. And then he says this incredible, almost audacious thing. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk.
Wow. Talk about unconventional. It bypassed everything that man expected.
Exactly. That's the whole point, isn't it? The man was just wired to expect coins, More of the same limited life he knew.
And Peter's call just shatters that pattern, offers something huge, something completely outside his comfort zone.
It was an invitation to a next move he probably couldn't even imagine.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit surprising.
Yeah.
The source material really highlights this pivotal detail. After Peter said those powerful words, nothing happened. Not immediately.
Right. The words were spoken, the command given, but the man didn't just leap up instantly. So why the pause? What happened next? That's the crucial part.
It is crucial.
Yeah.
Because it shows that divine power, well, it's always there, but it often needs us to act, to take an obedient step.
So what did Peter do?
Peter physically took the man by the dominant hand and heaved him up. This is what the sermon calls power assistance.
Ah, power assistance. I like that.
Yeah. The power wasn't like a magic trick. It was, as the sermon puts it, on the other side of obedience, meaning it only really kicked in as the man started to respond, as he began to cooperate with being lifted.
He had to participate.
Exactly. Think about it. He'd probably tried to get up before and failed, maybe felt pain. He'd learned to cope by just staying down.
Learned helplessness again.
Right. So Peter's physical help gave him the push, but it was the man's will to comply that choice, to take the next hard step that unlocked the power. It was a conscious decision to move past that ingrained helplessness.
And the result?
Yeah.
Just mind-blowing. Immediate and complete transformation.
Oh.
He was leaping up, stood and walked and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising God. No physio, no rehab.
No slow recovery.
None of that. The healing wasn't just physical. It was like total restoration.
Wow.
Just bypassed all the usual human limits and recovery times.
Yeah.
It's staggering.
It really is. It shows how profound and often how complete God's intervention can be. When that true spiritual shift happens, it's often not just a patch-up job.
Yeah.
It's holistic, tackles the root cause, not just the symptom, and sets you up for a totally new path.
So as you're listening to this, maybe take a second to think about your own gates. What are those long-standing challenges in your life? Those places where you've maybe settled into a coping pattern expecting only, minimal change?
Yeah.
What areas might need a seemingly outlandish or totally counterintuitive next move from you? A step that feels way outside your comfort zone? Maybe needing that divine power assistance to get you through.
Okay, so moving beyond just the physical healing, our deep dive really focuses on the mindset shift. That seems absolutely necessary for any real next move.
Yeah.
The sermon identifies the lame man's real roadblock wasn't just his legs, but that deeply ingrained mindset of subsistence and survival.
40 years of it.
Exactly. That builds a powerful fortress in your mind, a way of thinking that had to be, shaken up and dismantled before real lasting change could stick.
And that internal battle, that's where the insight really is, I think. The physical healing was just one part.
Right.
The deeper, tougher job was taking apart decades of learned helplessness, limited thinking, and, a poverty of imagination, really. He just couldn't see what was possible.
And that mindset of poverty or subsistence, it's not just about money, is it? Not at all. It can affect anyone, no matter their bank balance. It just creates this invisible ceiling on your potential. You build this fortress from past failures, perceived limits.
And breaking it down takes real intention, a mental reset. So if this subsistence mindset is the main obstacle, what's the antidote? What do the source materials say helps break that stagnation?
Unbelief. The sermon says unbelief keeps people stuck. And the antidote is faith. Faith, which comes, it says, from hearing the message of God's grace, the word of God. It even points to Colossians 1:27, Christ in us, the hope of glory.
But how do we understand unbelief here? Maybe in a way that connects beyond just a purely religious framework.
That's a really good question. Unbelief here could be seen as any kind of fixed mindset, right? Any ingrained thought pattern that stops us seeing new possibilities or taking needed risks.
Like learned helplessness again.
Exactly. Or just refusing to challenge our own assumed limits. So the antidote, whether you call it faith or just an active growth mindset, comes from deliberately exposing yourself to ideas, truths, messages that push back against those limits.
So the Word of God in this sense is like a constant stream of messages redefining what's possible, inspiring you to look beyond right now.
Precisely. An infusion of possibility.
That really changes the approach, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sermon also talked about this shift from the Old Testament idea of do good, get good.
Right, the transactional model.
Yeah, to the New Testament's focus on believe, 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 using Abraham as the big example. So for someone trying to figure out their next move, how does embracing that believe, believe, believe way of thinking, instead of do good, get good, actually change how they make decisions or view potential failure?
Oh, it's a massive paradigm shift. It impacts everything. The do good, get good way leads to focusing on earning your way, proving you're worthy.
Which comes with a lot of pressure.
Huge pressure. And a fear of failure, because failure means you didn't do enough. But the believe, believe, believe idea is about receiving through faith, trusting a power beyond just your own effort.
So it frees you up.
It really does. It frees you from that paralysis of needing everything to be perfect. Your next move isn't about executing perfectly to earn the outcome, but about stepping out in faith, believing. Like Abraham, his belief itself was credited.
Even if the immediate result isn't what you expected.
Exactly. It shifts focus from performance anxiety to a confident expectation. That allows for much greater risk-taking and resilience.
And then the sermon brought in this concept of the manifest presence of God glory.
Yeah.
And how beholding it transforms us from glory to glory, referencing 2 Corinthians 3. Can you unpack that a bit? What does manifest presence really mean, and how does it drive that ongoing transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. So this manifest presence is different from God just being everywhere, his omnipresence.
Yeah.
The manifested presence is when God kind of shows off, when he reveals his nature in a way you can actually experience, tangibly, when he shows up and makes his reality undeniable.
An encounter.
Exactly. And the source explains that beholding this, engaging with it, transforms us from glory to glory, meaning it's progressive. It's like a continuous upgrade of our character, our capacity, our perspective as we reflect that divine presence.
Like an internal OS upgrade for your life.
That's a great way to put it, based on a direct, undeniable experience.
So, okay, we've got mindset, we've got transformation through presence.
Yeah.
But the practical question for a lot of us is still, how do I figure out what my next move should actually be?
The million-dollar question.
Right. The sermon gives clues. Hearing God's voice, John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Also, recognizing your skills, your gifts, those recurring ideas that keep popping up, your passions.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at examples like Joseph or David. Their paths weren't quick or easy. Their destinies unfolded step by step, often through really tough times.
Yeah, that's crucial.
So what does that teach us about the timeline for guidance? And how do you keep faith when your next move seems to lead you into, like, a wilderness instead of the promised land?
That is the real test, isn't it? Joseph's dreams didn't send him straight to the palace. They sent him to a pit, then prison.
Right.
David's anointing didn't put him on the throne immediately. It made him a fugitive, hunted by a king. Their next moves often look like massive setbacks.
To outsiders, and probably to them too sometimes.
For sure. It teaches us that hearing God isn't always about getting a crystal clear, instant map to the final destination. It's often just about the next faithful step.
Okay.
Those recurring ideas, skills, passions, they're often like breadcrumbs on the trail. And keeping faith in that wilderness, it means trusting the process, understanding that every experience, even the bruising ones, is part of the prep work.
Building resilience, character.
Exactly. Wisdom, all needed for where you're ultimately headed. It's about building character while you're pursuing your purpose.
Okay, so once you're transformed, once you've embraced this new life, this new mindset, the sermon is really clear.
Yeah.
You could no longer sit at the gate and beg.
Absolutely not.
You can't carry that old mindset forward. Gates, in this new reality, aren't places to get stuck anymore. They're places you fly through.
Yeah, that really drives home the idea that true transformation isn't just a one-off event. It demands continuous mind renewal.
Right.
The lame man's physical healing, that was just the start. He had to ditch the beggar's mentality to fully own his new identity. That mental fortress had to come down completely.
Otherwise, you could stagnate again, even after a miracle.
Exactly. Stagnation becomes a choice if you cling to the old thinking. Once you've had that profound shift, the old way of living, of thinking it's just not an option anymore.
I absolutely love this next metaphor from the sermon. It's so vivid. The chess analogy, a pawn crossing the board and becoming a queen.
Powerful image.
It really is. It shows how one single, well-executed move can just elevate you to a whole new level of influence, of power. But the key, the sermon says, is only those who get ready attract opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Preparation meets opportunity.
But let's be real, making that single well-executed move often feels incredibly risky. Failure seems like a real possibility. How does the sermon handle that fear? And what does getting ready really mean beyond just, learning a new skill?
That's a sharp point because fear of failure stops so many people from making that key move.
For sure.
The sermon seems to imply that getting ready isn't just about skills. It's also about cultivating a mindset of courage, of expectation that actually pushes past the fear of things going wrong.
So changing your relationship with failure.
Yeah, basically, understanding that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's often part of the journey, part of learning. Think about the pawn becoming a queen. It takes strategic moves, sure, but also a willingness to be vulnerable sometimes, trusting the bigger strategy.
So getting ready involves spiritual prep, mental toughness.
And being ready to grab opportunities that might even look like challenges at first. It's about aligning your internal readiness with whatever shows up externally.
And we saw some really powerful real-life examples of this, like the anonymous testimony of someone resigning due to health, then getting critically ill.
Yeah, that was intense.
But in the middle of all that uncertainty, they prayed very specifically for a hybrid job, something perfect for their situation.
Yeah.
And bam, they got the exact offer.
Incredible.
Turning, as they said, sickness, uncertainty, anxiety, and fear into healing, restoration, and answered prayer.
It just shows the power of specific, focused faith, doesn't it? And then recognizing and acting on the answer, even when things look bleak. Their faith wasn't vague, it was targeted. That made the answer undeniable.
And then there was Kenneth Okuro's story. After this brutal promotion exam, 4 agonizing months of waiting, filled with fear.
You could feel the tension.
Yeah. Then a prophetic word comes concerning her situation. Shortly after, the results are out. Kenetik ranked 4th out of nearly 300 people, became one of the youngest ever promoted to management there.
Fear broken, destiny embraced, just like that.
Amazing. But, for listeners, how do you tell the difference between a genuine prophetic word you should act on and maybe just wishful thinking or a strong gut feeling?
That is such a critical question when you're seeking guidance. The sermon implies it, and other scriptures spell it out. Discernment is key.
Okay.
A genuine prophetic word often brings clarity and peace, not more confusion. It usually lines up with God's known character and principles, and very often it gets confirmed somehow, maybe by an inner sense of rightness or through wise advice from trusted mentors or leaders.
Whereas wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking often comes just from our own desires, right? It lacks that deeper spiritual confirmation. A strong intuition can be useful, absolutely, but a prophetic word seems to carry this undeniable authority and often the specific timing, like with Kenetuk. It cut through months of anxiety with pinpoint accuracy. It gives you not just hope, but a roadmap.
And finally, there was this analogy for resilience that really stuck with me. The keep moving principle.
Oh, yeah, the mud analogy.
Exactly. Imagine mud being thrown at you, life's criticisms, setbacks, slander, whatever. The advice is, don't stop to explain yourself. Don't pause to wipe your face right then and there. Keep moving and wipe your face as you go.
Such practical wisdom.
I actually had a tiny experience like this recently. Got some unfair feedback on a project, and my first reaction was, right, I need to stop everything and write this long defense.
The instinct to justify.
Totally. But then I remember this idea, and I thought, no, just keep the project moving forward. Address it later if I have to, but don't lose momentum. It's a small thing, but it really clicked.
That's a perfect application.
It just highlights that resilience against negativity and distraction. And that phrase, if you don't quit, you cannot lose. Because where others lose, we learn. Powerful.
It really is. It's about choosing progress over getting bogged down. The mud's gonna fly, critics will talk, but your focus has to stay on your path, on your next move.
Stopping for every distraction just drains your energy.
Completely. It siphons momentum away from your real purpose. This principle is basically refusing to let external negativity set your pace or derail you. It reframes setbacks, they become lessons, refinements, not defeats, unless you stop moving altogether.
So we've seen how individual faith and action can lead to these huge personal transformations.
Yeah.
But the sources also show, pretty compellingly, that this isn't just about lone victories.
No, it scales up.
Right. When enough people embrace their next move, their collective action starts a ripple effect. It shapes communities, cultures, even nations. The sermon used the House on the Rock Church itself as an example of this, acting as a social catalyst.
It's a great example of faith in action. Their 25-year prisons ministry, that's a serious commitment.
Quarter of a century.
And it's not just preaching, it's practical, tangible development. Setting up computer labs, building needed sanitation like toilets, establishing tailoring institutes inside correctional facilities.
Real skills, real infrastructure.
Exactly. Superintendent Amici Olawi from Curie Maximum Correctional Service even expressed deep gratitude for the church's consistent help in genuinely transforming lives. It shows how individual next moves, acts of service, compassion, can add up to real systemic change.
The sermon also painted this really big prophetic vision for Africa, especially Nigeria.
Yeah, that was bold.
Envisioning it becoming the factory for Africa in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Not just a place where used goods end up.
A shift from consumer to producer.
Right. And the church in this vision isn't just a spiritual place. It's seen as salt and light, actively involved in business, even lending to nations, building economic strength and global influence.
It definitely challenges current economic models. It's reporting on a perspective that sees Africa leading in manufacturing and innovation.
And positions the church as a key driver, not just spiritually, but in national development and economic power.
It's about collective next moves, shifting a whole national identity, potentially.
And what's also super interesting is this global rise of Afro-gospel music. We heard insights from artists like Israel Houghton and Sinach.
Big names.
Talking about the huge global reach of Afrobeat and Afro-gospel, how it's making an impact in really unusual places like Papua New Guinea, the Caribbean.
It's everywhere now.
Yeah, and there's even this upcoming The Experience 2025 album planned, aiming for Grammy recognition, apparently, with cinematic videos focusing on turning prophetic words into music.
That really shows the power of culture, doesn't it? Using it as a vehicle for spiritual and social influence, it's strategic.
It feels very intentional.
Totally. Leveraging media, music, for maximum impact, connecting faith with artistic excellence on a world stage. That album plan, the cinematic approach, the prophetic focus, that's a deliberate next move to elevate the whole genre and its message, reaching new people, asserting Africa's cultural leadership.
And part of that vision involves empowering creatives.
Mm.
Now, the internet's obviously a huge tool for young artists, but the sources also mention this critical need for actual systems and support.
Yeah, beyond just talent.
To help them really thrive, maybe form independent labels, and actually contribute properly to the African economy.
That really highlights a practical gap, doesn't it? In Africa's growing creative scene, you need more than talent. You need robust support structures, mentorships, solid business infrastructure.
So artists can build sustainable careers.
Exactly. And contribute meaningfully to the economy. It's about enabling a collective next move for a whole generation of creative entrepreneurs, building homegrown industries, not just relying on outside entities.
So we have definitely taken a deep dive today, all anchored in that really personal, powerful question. What is your next move? And we've seen, I think, that transformation isn't just about, say, a physical change. It's about a profound shift in your mindset.
Coupled with obedient action.
Yes. And being ready to seize those divine opportunities, whether they're individual ones or something bigger, collective.
And looking at the bigger picture, it really boils down to continuous forward momentum, like that principle we talked about.
Right. If you don't quit, you cannot lose.
Because where others lose, we learn.
Keep moving.
So I really encourage you, our listener, to think about what moving actually looks like for you right now, in your circumstances. How can you learn from every single experience, even the ones that bruise you? And how is that continuous movement, that persistent leaning into your next move, absolutely essential for reaching the destiny you're meant for?
Yeah.
It's definitely something to mull over, to explore on your own.
Thank you for listening. To go deeper, watch the full message on YouTube or listen to the full-length sermon on Spotify. Follow the podcast, and please share it with someone who needs it and leave your response in the Q&A. Kindly keep your heart on fire, your eyes on Jesus, knowing you are the exception. Grace and peace. We love you deeply.